Hi people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new recent reads video. The first book on this list is called The Flickle. This story is a middle-grade horror apocalyptic story as it follows two stepsisters as they try to survive after a climate apocalypse while also searching for their native grandmother who might still be alive. This story is absolutely so fantastic and it's so good. First of all, the indigenous representation matched with the queer representation was so excellent and so well done because both characters are such well-developed, distinct main characters, and I love their dynamic together as well as their dynamic individually. The plot is so engaging and so intriguing. The world building is excellent and it really comes to life so much. Like, typically I don't really enjoy apocalyptic stories for some reason, and I think it's because typically they're plot driven and they leave the characters behind, if that makes any sense. But within this story, like, I was so emotionally invested in both perspectives so much. This book is absolutely so excellent and it's so good. However, with that said, I will say the ending kind of felt rushed to me, like the last 20% or so. But anyway, overall this book was really good. I would definitely highly recommend it. So with that said, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Dark We Know. This story is a YA urban fantasy that follows a young bisexual Asian main character who said that she would never return to her hometown after 2 of her childhood best friends passed away, but she must now for her father's funeral, and at this funeral, her last surviving friend tells her that their childhood best friends were killed by a supernatural entity, and she must decide whether or not she should confront her past or ignore it like she's been doing lately. This book is absolutely so fantastic and it's so good. First of all, the world building was so atmospheric and so interesting. I'm so glad that I gave this book a second chance. I love the conversation surrounding grief and loss and the ways in which it impacts you and the isolation that comes from it. If that makes any sense, I loved the friendship between her and Mason. It was so well done and so good. The plot is so intriguing and so engaging. This book is so excellent. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. I was so hooked from the beginning to the end. I was locked in. This book is so good and it deserves all of its hype and so much more. So with that said, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars and I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Atlas of Us. This story is a YA contemporary following a young main character who becomes part of a community service program after her dad passed away. This story is absolutely so excellent and it's so well done. And again, it's another book that I gave a second chance to. Basically, I DNF'd this book for the first time when it first came out, but then I decided to read it again several months later, and it's so good. I DNF'd it in January because I felt like I just wasn't in the right mood for it, and there were just so many other books that I was just so much more excited for at the time. So anyway, this book is excellent. The writing is so pretty, and it's so well done. I definitely prefer this book over the author's previous book. This book is excellent. The writing is so good. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. I loved the romance so much. It's so cute and it's so well paced. The plot is so engaging. The friendships are so wonderful. I love a good found family. This book is excellent. I love the conversation surrounding grief and loss. Maybe I just love books centered on grief because I've read so many, and they never really get repetitive or anything like that. But anyway, this book is excellent and it's so good. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Conditions of a Halt. This story is a YA contemporary that follows a young disabled main character who must come to terms with her disability and what it means for her entire life, including specifically her love life. This story was good, and I enjoyed the disability representation. I love that there's so much more chronic illness representation when it comes to YA stories. The disability representation was excellent. The characters are well developed and distinct. I loved her relationship with her family, as well as with her friends. As for the romance, actually, I didn't really love the romance just because I don't really enjoy the second chance romance trope. Because, I didn't really understand why they had chemistry the first time, if that makes any sense, and why they like fell in love the second time. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I wish the story just didn't include that trope, because I didn't really like understand like why they had chemistry the first time, if that makes any sense. But like overall, like the disability representation, like I said multiple times, was excellent, and it was definitely the strongest part of this story. I just didn't really fall in love with the romance the way that the main character did, but like everything else was great and awesome. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 3 stars, so take that as you will. The last book on this list is called It's Only a Game. This story is a YA thriller following a young sapphic Asian main character after she and her friends are framed for murder unless they participate in 4 deadly rounds of a game. This story is absolutely so fantastic, and it's so good. I think I wasn't expecting to enjoy this book as much as I did, because typically I don't really fall in love with stories that involve like video games or anything like that, and I was very curious as to how like the stakes of the video game would like impact their lives in real life, if that makes any sense, because sometimes with stories with online games, like I wish the characters would just look up and touch some glass or something like that. But like this book was so good. I loved the mystery. It was so thrilling, and it made so much sense. I loved the flashbacks. I was so curious as to how like the main character's previous life was connected now, if that makes any sense. The friendship and the found family was done so well. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. I loved all the queer representation. This book is so excellent. I was so hooked. I was so invested. This book deserves so much more hype. I rated it 4 stars, and with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. So in conclusion, this video is my first recent reads video of October, and I hope that it sets the precedent for the rest of my October reading month. So anyway, in conclusion, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the pineapple emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!